for the Dog and Pauly podcast on FingerLakes1.com, featuring Harold Webb Dog Weber and Paul Hellstrom.
And it's another Wednesday morning, October 17th, 2012, and this is the Dog and
Pauly Show.
Jim Sinicropi here, sitting in for Harold Weber, who's off for another week, and we'll be back next week. And we're going to talk about some Section 5 football playoffs today. We're going to talk about baseball playoffs. We're going to talk about NFL football, Syracuse football, you name it. And we're even going to talk about the possibility of professional golfers maybe wearing shorts. So a lot to go with here. Paul, how you doing this morning?
Good. How fitting that we'd be talking about shorts as the leaves are turning and coming down off the trees, and there's a chill in the air for football, which I'm excited about. Sectional football starts, and I'm excited. Oh, look who slipped in.
Oh, yeah, Harold is here, I guess. There
Harold, nice to see you. Well, you've been under the weather a little bit, huh? Yeah, you have lost some weight. Yeah, no, you don't look too bad. Well, you never looked good, but I mean, you compared to what you look like, you don't look too bad. It's good to see you. You got a little laryngitis?
Yeah, not much to say.
Harold's not going to be able to say much this morning. He just wanted to be here to support us, and he doesn't want you viewers who view this show to forget him. I don't know how anybody could forget Harold, but goes without saying. All right, we'll just kick back, Harold, and relax, and we'll do a little of your favorite stuff. We'll probably do a little Yankee bashing this morning, and I'm sure you'll get a big kick out of that.
And some Danica Patrick and Yankees and Syracuse, Doug Marone.
Yeah. There's a lot of things going on, and none the worse than all these teams getting excited in the NFL about. There's teams that are 3-3. That never thought they'd be 3-3, and there's teams that they thought they'd be much better than that, and then there's other teams that are glad to be 3-3. But
it seems like everybody's at about 500 though, except for maybe the Atlanta Falcons. You know, everybody else seems to be like you say 3-3, like the entire AL East or not the AFC East, with the Bills, Patriots, Jets, and Dolphins all at 3-3. It's kind of, I mean, Bills have been taking a beating this year, but they're tied for first, and they're tied for last.
Yeah, it's incredible. The Bills usually are a little more effective early before people figure them out, and then after they figure them out, they usually start tacking losses on them. I do think the Bills can score. I just don't think they can hold anybody. Yeah. So Arizona has no offense, and Cobb's out for the year now, I guess. And he wasn't much of an offense when he was there. They're on their third or fourth running back, 6 games in. Not household names, names that you read in the police blotter at night or something. But people wanted parity. And welcome to parity. This is the way it goes when you say, well, I'm tired of. And earlier last year, and then again this year, somebody said Sports Illustrated maybe the only team that's got a chance of being 16-0 this year is the Patriots. Well, here we are, 3-3, like you just said, and Tom Brady taking a bashing from a safety who said he was going to get in his face and win the game, and he did. And poor Tom Brady's doing a lot of. He doesn't just defend his payroll now and his model, pretty wife, and his lifestyle. Now he has to defend his actions on the field. That's something new to him. He never had to deal with that before because clearly he's one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks to play the game in the last 10 years. So, I mean, you usually can sit on your laurels, but it's all different this year. Yep, so like you say, it's pretty good. One team that won, the only team left undefeated, Atlanta, boy, they won ugly. Oakland made them look real bad on their home field.
Yeah, and they've had close wins against a lot of teams that you wouldn't consider elites, but still they are 6-0. But you kind of wonder if they're now set up to lose a few because while they're strong, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them go. I wouldn't be surprised to see Atlanta in the Super Bowl, but I don't think that they're elite. And I would still say Green Bay is a better team than Atlanta, even though Green Bay is 3-3. And
yeah, Green Bay served a little notice this week. They went up against the, I think, number 1 or 2 ranked defense in the NFL, Houston. And in defense of Houston, they lost 1 player, Cushing. And I don't know if it made that difference or not because Rodgers went right out and got 6 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I don't think one guy makes a team. I never did, but maybe a couple of things happened. And Rodgers had a lot to prove. People have been rubbing him the wrong way by saying he's out of the mix when you talk about the better quarterbacks in the NFL this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been kind of lack of a running game there. And they tried to establish this Benson guy.
No,
and
he's hurt.
It looked like he turned the corner. He got 80-plus yards in a couple of games, and he's gone. So it's backfield by committee now. And so he's going to step up and do what he has to do. And you watch his numbers go up. And I think they'll win most of their games, and they'll end up. But that division,
Yeah.
I think it's Chicago right now, and then it's Green Bay, and Minnesota stepped up and won a couple of games that people didn't give them credit for winning. But you're right. I think Atlanta within the next couple of weeks can be beat at any time. They're on a bye this week, I think. Yeah, Atlanta's on bye. Yeah, so that's that. But
it just seems so fickle in the NFL. I mean, the Packers had that one Hail Mary call that was disputed a few weeks ago, where they lost that game. We're 1/3 of the way through the season. I think by the time we get, to week 16, 17, that some of this stuff will shake out. You'll find the Packers, at or near the top of that division and in the playoffs, and you'll find Atlanta will still be there. The usual suspects, I think.
Yeah, I think that what's happened is with this parity, the team that gets hot at the right times. I think the Giants were 9-7 last year. Excuse me, when they went on that tear and won 5 in a row at the right time of the year. They just happened to be against teams like Atlanta, Green Bay, and of course they beat New England. They have their number. The points in the New England Giant games are they never score 40 points between them. And New England goes out and runs up 40 on everybody. I think it's 17-14. 20-17 and 2 Super Bowls. They seem to be able to have the answer for that. But that division is all that you were talking about. The Giants are ahead 4-2, and everybody else is 3-3.
And that was an amazing performance in San Francisco to go all the way to the other side of the country and just dominate one of the best teams in football on both sides of the ball. We know that San Francisco's offense isn't explosive, although they have been at times so far this year. But to shut down or to score on their defense is even more impressive. And hey, if you're a Giants fan like you and I, we're feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah, and I'm sure even with Tom being a coach all these years in the NFL, he's shaking his head a little bit. I mean, the Giants are vulnerable to the run. San Francisco runs 3 backs. Yeah. They couldn't get anything going. When they had to go to the quarterback, who's been efficient, and he had to pass, it looked like he was throwing passes to the Giant defenders like they were running patterns. I mean, they were breadbasket catches. Yep. And I'm sure Tommy's shaking his head also about the fact his team's road record in the last 8 or 9 games, counting the playoff run last year when they are on the road every game. I think he's like 8-1 on the road, and he's like, maybe 5-4 at home or something. Go figure. But like you say, you get hot at the right time, and I think the days of anybody chasing Miami's record for a while of 17-0 looks like that's settled down to talk about that, and they're playing football, and it looks like parity has been found.
Yeah, it's too hard to get a big gap in talent across the board on a football team with the way the rules are and the salary cap is nowadays. And there's also so much diversity in the styles of play and schemes on offense and defense that somewhere along the line you're just not going to have a good matchup. But even like Philadelphia Eagles are a good example. There's a team on paper that's underachieved so far. Is there that much difference between like the worst teams in football and the best? I mean, the Redskins. I don't know who's a bad team. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Carolina Panthers. I don't know who is a bad team anymore in the NFL. You don't have the easy win no matter who you're playing. Even the Rams, the St. Louis Rams, have been pretty poor over the past few years, but they've been in every game, it seems, this year.
They stepped up this year and played a little defense. What you're saying is there's so many teams that are dependent on one guy having a really good day, and those are the teams that seem to give you 40 points one week, and you're all excited if you like them, and the next week they disappear. The team comes in and keys on that one guy, and they have no answers, and I guess that goes down to coaching. Philadelphia fired the defensive coordinator. They're 3-3. I thought they lost because they didn't score enough points.
Yeah.
I have a simple philosophy with that offense. I mean, with the LaShawn Jacksons and the LaShawn McCoys and the Michael Vick, and I just thought, well, score some more points, but they didn't, and so the defensive coordinator went.
And that can't help, with 6 games into the season making a change like that. I mean, if the guy you thought was the right guy 6 weeks ago, how could that much have changed? But
yeah, I mean, I think he's still trying to find the right players for the right positions. But in that area of the game right now, the Giants are healthy, and they haven't been healthy now for a year and a half. I think they've got everybody back, including a couple guys in the secondary, which was their weakness going into this year. So if the Giants can tighten up the secondary, I know they got the second toughest schedule in the NFL the rest of the way. But, if you can win on the road and you win the games you should home, they might be back in there this year. Looks good. But how about high school football? That's coming up big week this week.
Yeah, they start. Sectional playoffs start, and there's some real intriguing things going on with teams from the Finger Lakes and Wayne County leagues. I have the brackets up in front of me. I'm going to run through them a little bit, and we could stop and talk at certain points here. Let's start with Class AA. Rush Henrietta's the number 1 seed at 7-0. Also, you got Hilton in there, the 2nd seed at 6-1. Pittsford 6-1, 3 seed. Moving down to Class A, you have a real interesting first round matchup. The number 3 seeded Victor Blue Devils at 6-1 against the 6th seeded Canandaigua Braves at 4-3. They met during the regular season. That, as far as Section 5 Central Finger Lakes type of football, is one of the best rivalries, and it's kind of funny that they're going to be playing in the first round. It's at Victor. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff on October 19th, which will be Friday night. So if you're out there in the Western Ontario County, you might want to get to Victor to check that one out. And they'll play the winner of that game. Will move on to play the winner of Greece Athena and Brockport. And the number 1 seed in Class A is Eastridge at 7-0. So good luck to all the players in that game, and also to the winner of that game to move on after that. But Canandaigua Victor, it doesn't get much better than that. Now, Class B, where we have a ton of local teams. First and foremost, number 1 seeded Geneva Panthers at 7-0. Shane Sweeney leading them they're playing at home on Friday night at 7 against Honeoye Falls Lima, who's 2-5, the 8 seed. But Shane Sweeney, the all-time Section 5 career touchdown pass leader, passing Billy Sharr, who was a great player at Canandaigua and went on to Syracuse University. Didn't really work out so great for him there at Syracuse. But Shane Sweeney breaks a long-standing record. That goes back to the late 80s, mid to late 80s, I think, when Billy Sharr left Canandaigua with that record. And, Sweeney's been doing it. He had 8 touchdown passes one game this year. Another one he had 6. So this kid's phenomenal. And I think that at this point for Geneva, anything short of a Class B sectional title will be a disappointment. And they really, looking at this Class B brackets, don't have I can tell you the other teams that are in there. Geneva, if they win, will play the winner of Palmac and Livonia. Livonia's a 4 seed at 5-2, and Palmac's 3-4. And then on the bottom half of the bracket, you have 2 seed East Rochester Gananda at 6-1, who is a really solid club, and of course they get to combine their student bodies to form that team, East Rochester and Gananda. They play Batavia, but then the winner of that game will face the winner of Waterloo at Newark. So you got a 3-4 Waterloo team against a 5-2 Newark team, a 6 seed versus a 3 seed at Newark Friday night at 7:15. Class B is, if you're talking about Finger Lakes leagues, Wayne County, Central Finger Lakes, this is where it's at here. Everybody's around here is going to be looking at Class B. So, Waterloo football at 3-4, they've had some games where they looked fairly dominant, and they've also had some games where they've looked really, I don't want to say terrible, but just let's say not dominant. And Newark's been consistently pretty solid all season. So I don't know. Who do you like in that game, Paul? Waterloo at Newark.
Well, Newark can run up points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Geneva High scored 60 against them. Newark had 40 some odd. That game went over 100. So if you were looking for a line on a football game of being 100, you would have bet under every time, but not that game.
Especially high school, yeah.
Yeah, and I realized Newark scored 3 touchdowns in the last quarter, but Geneva High was still sending players out on defense to stop them. They just had a passing offensive type team. That's what I think has happened in the Wayne Finger Lakes. All of a sudden, there's a couple of kids that are emerging as slingers and throwers, and they're also bringing some athletic people who are playing the end position, 6'1" kids that maybe are basketball players later on who normally wouldn't go out for football because this is a run type thing. Started with Minders in the 50s, 3 yards in a cloud of dust and get 2 touchdowns and shut everybody out. But the quarterback seemed to be making a comeback, and I stand next to this Sweeney kid at a basketball game last year, and he was a little bit taller than me, and I knew I was standing next to somebody that was special, but he didn't look special.
Yeah.
He looked just like the kid, the freckler, the brush cut out of control, brush cut, and but he went out and played a basketball game. He hits threes, he drives to the hoop, he goes in and steals offensive rebounds. He's just a kid that's got the attitude that, boy, I'm going to do as much as I can while I'm in high school to see what happens later on, because you've talked names on this show and everywhere else about people who have done well in high school, moved on to programs, particularly Syracuse, who kind of disappeared because they were matched up against the best from everywhere. But this kid's just not going to let anybody beat him right now, and if he keeps that attitude going forward, I look to see his name in a couple of sports in college in the future. But, the fact that there's ends involved, and he's throwing the ball. He throws the ball 50 yards at times. I mean, and it looks like a spiral to me. And people are going up and getting the ball. And I don't know. I haven't seen anybody throw like him in a while. And like I say, that's changed the game. E.R. Gananda came in and played Geneva High and played them tough. They established the ground game. They threw a few passes. They scored 17 or 20 points. And Geneva went out and scored 35, 37, called it a bad day. That was a competitive game for a while, where the other games for Geneva haven't been too competitive. They've just gone out and put up 3 touchdowns before halftime and then just run away with it in the second half. So I think that Waterloo is good on defense and Newark's good on offense. So if Waterloo can make a couple key stops early on, they may stay in that game, and hopefully they can steal it. The records indicate Newark, I think you said, is 5-2, Waterloo's 3-4. But in this division,
right,
you see somebody twice, maybe you can correct something that you did wrong the last time and go from there.
And, Waterloo's been tested in a few close games that they've won this year, too, which always helps. I mean, you're only playing 7 games in your season in high school football, so if you can get tested a couple times during that regular season, it's certainly going to help you here in the playoffs. So moving on down to Class C, number 1 Hornell at 7-0 will face Wayland Cohocton. Number 2 seed Leroy will face Holly. And then the winner of the Hornell game will face either Minders or Attica. Now, 5-2 Minders, they have to go on the road to Attica, who's 5-2, which is that's Friday night at 7, and that's a big shift. You'd like it at 5-2 to maybe host that first game on their new field at Brock Field, but nonetheless, for Minders to stand at 5-2 now is quite a surprise based on recent years, and I think everybody in Seneca Falls and Minders Nation, I guess if you want to say there's Minders Nation out there that's following this team, is thinking they got a shot at a Class C sectional title this year. It's it's not going to be easy. I've seen two different Minders teams this year. I've seen a Minders team that just got absolutely thrashed by Clyde Savannah, but I've seen a Minders team that has won 5 games in impressive fashion with multiple running backs and a solid defense. So the Blue Devils, will face Attica, the winner to face the winner of Hornell and Wayland Cohocton, and then also down the bottom half of the bracket, Elba faces Bath. So 5-2. Paul, what do you think Minders' chances are here in Class C?
I don't know much about Attica, how they got their 5 wins, and I don't know their offensive pattern. I do know a little bit. I got the 1 3/4 games of Minders. Got the first period of one game, and Minders likes to control the tempo. They like to control the ball on offense. They have multiple running backs that are talented, exceptionally talented, and I saw 4 play one night, and I think 3 of them got a touchdown. And then I think what hurts them is they can pass. They have a quarterback that can throw the ball. I think his name is Brandon Pasalacqua. He runs options.
Yes.
He's quick. Mm-hmm. He's a good rusher. I think if the game gets up in the air and I forget what coach said. Speed can kill you. If the other team's got it, it's going to kill you. And if you have it, you can go out and he said you got to have speed. And it looks to me like they might lack that part of it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, team speed. I mean, they got some kids that are quick, but when you talk about Clyde Savannah, they just spat him off the field. It seemed like everything was a big play. It was a misdirection and people getting loose and stuff like that. But I certainly hope that at 5-2, drawing. The away team, I just think the kids can carry the banner because last year they were 2-5, and that's with a forfeit win. And last year, so actually they only won 1 physical football game.
They actually got a forfeit win this last week. They were supposed to play South Seneca. South Seneca couldn't field the team, so that 5th win is a forfeit win this year too. But I wouldn't think that Minders would have handled South Seneca in that game, regardless.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's another thing. I mean, that's a school. You talk about merging being the thing of the future going down the line, and it have been in the past. That's a school that already has merged.
Yeah, and that's
a school that is Ovid and Interlake and merged, and they still can't get numbers. They didn't have enough people to show up to play football.
I mean, you think you need 18 or something like that, and they couldn't get that?
It's at a sad point. I mean, even DeSales, last year with 106 students in school, they fielded a team and they went out and they battled and did what they had to do, but it's sad to see it come to that. But I think Minders is going to go down there and stick their chests out and say, if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to get through us. I think they're a tough bunch of kids. Got a couple of seniors on the team, a couple of juniors, and I think if a couple of young kids step up, I'd like to say that game's going to be 24 to 17. I think that Minders will win that game.
Okay. Let's move it down to the Class Double D and Class D. It's a little different here. There's only 4 teams in each of these brackets, and then the champions will play each other to see who represents in states from Section 5. So let's start with Class Double D. You have number 1 seeded Red Jacket, where they are really high on this team out there in Shortsville. It's a dream season for them at 7-0. They're facing Letchworth, and then they'll play the winner of Perry and Avon. Red Jacket's biggest win coming against Clyde Savannah when they were both undefeated at 6-0, and Red Jacket picked up that 7th win and handed Clyde their first loss, and it wasn't even close. So I think that's when people said, wow, really good team here in Red Jacket. So I think anything short of a Class Double D sectional title for Red Jacket and then moving on to states. But interestingly enough, in Class D, you got Notre Dame playing Dundee. Number 1 Notre Dame 6-1, Dundee 3-4, and then you have York, the 3 seed, coming to Clyde Savannah on Friday night at 7:00, and 6-1 Clyde Savannah, the number 2 seed. So you could see a rematch if things go according to plan. I mean, Clyde would have to beat Notre Dame potentially, but you could see a Clyde Red Jacket rematch, and I think that would be one of the biggest games in Wayne Finger Lakes football in a long time if those two were to have a rematch for for a chance to go to states. Dundee, as I mentioned, is in Class D at 3-4. they've had some surprising wins and some surprising losses. They've been tough to figure out. I know they work hard at it at Dundee. And so, yeah, I mean, down there in the D classes, like I say, Clyde and Red Jacket, if they can make their way through to the end of these brackets and face each other again, wow, what a game that would be. And they love football up in Clyde at Dirkola Field. It's unlike any other place, I think, for high school football.
Yeah, I think that Red Jacket, Double D, that surprises me. I didn't know that. How did they land there? I mean, that's Shortsville and Manchester merged, right?
Yeah.
So they end up in Double D, but to get to the States, they'll still have to play the winner of D, right? Because there's only one bracket in the States.
Right, so they can win a Section DD title, and Clyde or another team can win a Class D section title, but they won't go to states yet until they play each other.
Well, the advantage, I think, falls to Red Jacket because they've played up all year. They played some B schools, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
really, both these teams have had to, sure.
Because of the lack of population in the area and the schools, they have to play. So they played up all. I mean, I don't know that program. That's 7-0. Wow, Double D. I would never thought they were there to start with, but I like their chances. They seem to want to they want to go out and play the tough games right now. They want to play the good schools, and I think that's a good indication going forward.
Yeah, I would have bet anything that Clyde was going to beat Red Jacket when they met a couple weeks ago, and I was a little surprised by that. But it's my fault for just kind of looking at the scores and not taking a closer look at Red Jacket at what they got. So yeah, if Red Jacket and Clyde should happen to meet again, that would be a game that I might be convinced to take a ride to go see. So
that'll be on a larger venue, right? That'd be like at Rochester.
I would imagine at that point, those would be the sectional finals.
Yeah. So there'll be a neutral field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be a good game.
Yeah, and what was I going to say here? Oh, yeah, that Red Jacket game is Saturday at 1 o'clock, and the Clyde game's Friday night at 7. And then Dundee game is Saturday at 1:30. So there you have it. A lot of teams still alive, playing some football, some interesting brackets coming down. And good luck to all the players. Let's hope nobody gets hurt and plays their best. And, as they pursue that sectional title, and then at that point we'll look at what's going on in the state level. So
that's for sure.
Good luck to all the local teams.
Harold's jumping up and down over there. He says, come on, let's get to college. I want to bash Syracuse. That's all over, Harold. Your bashing days of Syracuse are over. They're going to win this week. They're going to go 2-1 in the conference, and you're just going to have to throw it around from there to see where it goes. But there's a lot of teams in college football this year that are surprising people, and I like that in that top 5 or 6, a couple of schools have jumped in there and knocked people around. Being
Kansas State, Notre Dame,
South Carolina, Kansas State, Notre Dame. I mean, okay, LSU move over. Alabama's in a class of their own. They're ready to go play an NFL schedule.
Yeah, they're clearly. I mean, it's almost boring.
Yeah,
I don't see anybody.
Conceding it. Southern Cal came down to somebody's. Notre Dame is getting it done with what I don't know how they're getting it done. I mean, how you can win college football games week in out and week out with defense, playing offensive teams like Stanford and these schools. They're not LSU playing Alabama's got offense. They're not playing these teams that they can beat 6-3. They can get 6 points at halftime. Say they're never going to cross the 40-yard line. Yep. That doesn't happen. Notre Dame goes out and plays gunslingers. Robinson from Michigan, who beats them every year, beat them in his sophomore and his junior year, not this year. Notre Dame, the goal line stand. They say, oh, that guy might have got in. He had 30 seconds to get in. I mean, when are you going to blow the – I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Stop. I mean, the same as people didn't like it when Notre Dame was crying. Don't cry. They stopped them. They've had 1 touchdown scored against them in 5 collegiate games. Wow. That's something to be said. So I like the shuffle up there at the top. It's making for interesting football. And like you said, that's going to change some of it because of the –
I wish there was a playoff at the end of the year. Next year we do have a 4-team playoff coming to college football, but I wish it was like an 8-team. I mean, look at these high school teams you just talked about. They have 8-team playoffs, and then after that they go to states, which is probably another 8-team playoff, if not more. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, honestly, sitting here now, we know that Alabama is going to play for a national title, and it's going to be tough for anybody to beat them, and it kind of just takes a little luster away. Or you could have a situation where Kansas State and Notre Dame and South Carolina, are up near the top, and there's not enough room for them all so they don't even have a shot at the national title. I want to see an 8-team. I'd like to see 16-team playoff, but I'd be happy with an 8-team college football playoff.
So what you're saying is there's a chance that 2 teams besides Alabama can end up undefeated and not be playing for the national championship because only 2 can play.
That's right, yeah. Or it could be Alabama's undefeated and you might have 5 or 6 one-loss teams that all look really good, And it's just how frustrating is that to not be able to give it your best shot on the field. It's been that way for years, kind of beating a dead horse with this. Next year they are going to a 14 playoff, which is a start, but I'd like to see them expand it and make it work. I think it would be the type of thing that would elevate college football to the point of popularity that the NFL enjoys.
Like you say, some things, for me as I'm getting older, some things move at the speed of light. And it seems to be that doing the right thing in college football is taking almost forever until they come up with a playoff system. I mean, like you said, come on. There's some teams that get hot the second half of the year that picked up a loss or 2 early that they got the momentum going. They'd be the team you'd want to watch, and then you don't get to see them. So I think that's probably true. How about smaller college football? How about Hobart? They're coming off a bye week. They're ranked 11th in the nation.
I showed them at 7 in the poll I saw.
Wow.
Division 3, 7th.
I hope that's not the kiss of death. I mean, Hobart has been steadily getting better every year. I think the last 3 years they've gone to that playoff. 2 years they lost in the first round to teams that just come in with different schemes that they'd never seen. But last year I think they won 1 game before they got knocked out of it. And I think that team is just building it's just they reload, as the old Minder's saying. We don't rebuild, we reload. They just seem to be playing a great football. Tribute to the coaching staff up there at Hobart. Is his name Craig? The guy is the coach Craig?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
I think
well, anyway, kudos to him and his staff up there. They know, believe me, they know who they are because they're practicing all week against each other. And
I got their schedule here. They beat Dickinson 31-0. They beat a school named Geneva, who I think is from Wisconsin, not Geneva, New York, but it's kind of odd that they beat Geneva 28-7. They went at Utica, won 45-26. They beat the Merchant Marines at Boswell Field 42-21, and then WPI in Massachusetts they beat 61-8. They beat Springfield 28-7, and now they got 4 regular season games left.
Yeah.
Saturday at noon against Rensselaer, at Rensselaer. Then the following Saturday back home against Union for a noon kickoff. Then on the road in Canton against St. Lawrence. And then they're home for their regular season finale on the 10th of November against U of R at noon. And that will be a fun game to go to locally.
I don't know the records, but the 2 names that stand out there, and I'm sure the other 2 schools, it would be Union and U of R. I mean, I don't know what they are this year, but traditionally they have been schools that have pushed Hobart around a little bit in that sport, and I don't think this year anybody's going to push Hobart around. It seems like the games they need offense, they can step up and get it. In the other games, they controlled by giving up 1 score to a lot of those schools, 7 points, 6 points, 13. And I think that, and I'm sure some of the points that are scored against that one game, 61 to something, were scored towards the end of the game when it was out of hand and they want to go into that prevent and whatever it is. But, nice to see them playing well. And at the same time, Geneva's had the best of both worlds. They've had a high school program that's jumped up, and so you can go to a Friday night football game, go to a Saturday night football game in Geneva and see some of the best football being played between 17 to 22-year-old young gentlemen that you want to see. And, boy, it's like I said, I've been to a Hobart game this year. I haven't been in years. I got in there. It froze half to death the day I went there, but it was good, and they won easy. And it's nice to see the town seems to be excited for them, too. It's not just Hobart students going and families, and the stadiums are packed, and it's kind of an outlet for them finding themselves in football at this time when the lacrosse program has kind of lost its way.
Yeah.
And now it seems like that the football gives them something to do well with.
Yeah, and Heron Smith, the William Smith Herons field hockey and soccer teams have had some successes of late too. But good luck to Hobart football at the end of the season. Getting back to Syracuse, we stand at 2-4 with that terrible loss to Rutgers, where we really outplayed them statistically on both sides of the ball. Our defense was outstanding, and we lose the game because of a block kick and just mistakes and penalties and it's just getting really old. But, what I say when Harold wants to talk to me about Moreau not being an answer, I say, well, already I can see a difference in talent level on the field. The guys that when Moreau first took over, when Greg Robinson was there, before the game started, you could just tell by the eye test that we were going to get killed. We didn't have we didn't have big enough or fast enough players. Moreau now has that roster full. We weren't deep enough. We're deep now. We're talented. It's just a matter of executing on the field, and that's what's so frustrating, because between the Northwestern game and that Rutgers game, we're 2-4. We could be 4-2 easy enough if we didn't shoot ourselves in the foot. And now, Friday night at 8 o'clock, Coach P brings his Connecticut team to the Dome, which is going to be quite a scene to see Coach P, Paul Pasqualoni, 17 years at Syracuse, lead another team into the Carrier Dome. For any Syracuse fan, that's going to be a surreal experience, and I sure hope that they give him a nice round of applause, and I don't want to hear any boos, because that guy was dedicated to Syracuse football and did a great job when he was here.
That'll be interesting. That's a conference game, so if Syracuse wins that, they'd be 2-1, right? So they'll be in the mix. They're 1-1 right now.
Yeah, we're right in the mix.
So they'll be in the mix, and I think they will win the game. And I think that one of the last pieces to the puzzle when you're rebuilding a system, and I think they believe in the Coach Marone's philosophies and everything like that. For some reason, you have to also, after you learn all the plays now, you have to learn how to win. And they're not used to winning. And I always thought, and it's probably the wrong philosophy, that one guy's got to step up and say, give me the, I'm going to take, okay. Yeah. Cover me. I'm going to do a couple of things now in the next couple of minutes that's going to win this game.
Right.
Get my back. And everybody that maybe don't want that opportunity, don't give me the ball. It's 3rd and 3. I don't think they get that one guy that's got that determination, and he steps out there and he makes a couple key, and they move the chains, and the Rutgers game is over. It's over the other way by 3. But if the people, which this isn't a patient area for sports, Syracuse is used to having their own way from some of the great athletes they had here in the past and stuff. That's all in the past. The Browns, the Littles, the Zonkas, the Dave Surratts.
Art Monks, Dan McPherson, Donovan McNabb. Yeah.
Those are individual athletes. They don't make a team. I don't care what you say. They do not make a team. What makes a team is the system, the coaching staff, and the belief of the athletes that they can perform. And I think I would have to agree with you. Going forward, I think if they can win 1 or 2 games that they're not supposed to, or that's a little bit more than even, they're a little bit underdog, that might turn the corner for some of the underclassmen. Forget the quarterback leaving. That's not the only position on the field. So this is the start of the last run for the Orange. What do we got left? 4?
Six games.
Six games left. Oh, that's a whole season.
Yeah, they got Connecticut Friday night. That's on ESPN. Then they go to South Florida, play on the road against South Florida. And then they play on the road against Cincinnati, so those are couple tough ones, especially that Cincinnati game. And then they get Louisville at home, which is going to be a big one. If Syracuse wants to be bowl eligible, they're going to have to absolutely win one of those 2 games at Cincinnati or home against Louisville, because after that, on November 17th, it's off to Missouri. They have to travel to Missouri, and then they finish their season at Temple. So
I think the
lot of road games.
I think the key, like you were saying, is I don't like to look ahead. That's a bad thing to do. They got to split those 2 road games, Central Florida and Cincinnati.
Yep.
And you're saying Cincinnati is the tougher of the 2 games, but you got to beat UConn, go into the Florida game with a little confidence, and beat them. Then you're on 2 in a row. Then anything can happen in Cincinnati. They're coming in there and they'll go, well, you just beat a couple teams you should have beaten. They'll go, no. This is all new to us, and you're in our way, so we're going to bowl you over and get your game too. So that'd be good if they could do that. Let's hope they can win 2 out of the next 3 and moving forward, be realistic. Maybe they can win all 3. Be an optimist.
Yeah, I just think that with the talent that I've seen on both sides of the ball, especially our defense is so great and athletic and smart and talented and hard hitting, that we can beat any of these teams. We can win them all. if we win them all, then we are, unless Rutgers happens to run the table as well, we would win the Big East and go to the BCS bowl game on January 2nd or whatever it would be.
That's
the goal.
Yeah, that's still there. They can control it. The coach could use that as a thing of saying, "Hey, we brought ourselves this far. We're a little disappointed. We're playing good football. Let's win some games, and you reap the rewards."
Well, as time's starting to move along here, I think we should quickly run through our sponsors. Starting with the Deluxe Restaurant in Geneva. Paul, what's going on?
Well, the Deluxe, something happened Sunday that I never thought I would see happen. I said to Charlie, Sunday, you'll get shut out. You've got 4 o'clock Giant game. You've got the Yankees playing baseball, second game, and you won't do any dinners and like that. So he said at halftime of the Giant game, and the Yankees were in the 4th or 5th inning, said there was 100 people at the Deluxe.
Really?
The dining room was packed. There was 20 people at the bar. We had the football game on one channel and the baseball game on the other channel. And it just turned out that now the people are feeling, with Giant football, that's the place to be, the Deluxe. It's not about Giant football, but it's sure working out in our favor this year. And Giants have become the road warriors of the NFL, so as we talked about earlier. And but Charlie's really, really happy, and we're just going berserk. We're going really crazy up there. The weather's settled down a little bit. It's not cold, but, I mean, it gets to be 52, 58, and people are shivering. They're coming in and go, give me some manicotti, give me some red sauce, and give me some chicken biscuits, and give me that turkey dinner with dressing, gravy, on everything. And, and that's what it is. Now we got a roast pork dinner that we're featuring the old-fashioned way. You don't have to go home and cook a roast in the oven and make the mashed potatoes from boil the potatoes. We got it all ready for you. We got dressing with it. We got gravy. We got half portions specials. There's half portions on 60 to 70% of the menu. It's working. And we got pizzas and we got everything for the kids, so you can bring them along and watch the games, have some popcorn at the bar with Charlie, and just enjoy it. It's your hometown family-friendly restaurant, and Charlie enjoys being a sponsor of the show, and he told me to say hey to everybody.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate that sponsorship, and certainly a classic, historic location in Geneva, the Deluxe Restaurant. We got Lizard's Tailgater Lounge, a great place to book your holiday parties. If you haven't already, give Scotty Trickler a call at 315-539-1234. Whether it's karaoke, trivia, darts, they got all sorts of things going on up there in Waterloo. Scotty Trickler and Lizard's Tailgater Lounge, a fine sponsor of the Dog and Pauly podcast. And that brings us to the Seneca Falls Country Club, where we have at SFCC on Saturday. There's a nice cash tournament coming up. If you haven't heard about it yet, give a call down to the Pro Shop at 315-568-5202. It's a 4-man scramble. Nice skins game. Nice payouts. And a lot of people coming from the southern tier, coming from Camillus, coming from all over to play in this tournament. They held off aerifying the greens down there at Seneca Falls until after this tournament could be played Saturday. So if you do decide to bring a team, it's going to be, of course, going to be in good shape. And, the course is in good shape for general play too right now. If you don't like that hot and humid weather, get out there now. It's supposed to be a high of like 62, 63 this afternoon. Hey, that's good golf weather, I think. So that's Seneca Falls Country Club again. If you're interested in the 4-man scramble on Saturday afternoon, give a call, 315-568-5202, and you can visit them online at SenecaFallsCountryClub.com. Another sponsor would be the good old Omen Theater in Lyons, New York, where, if you want to go see a movie, they closed down the movie theater in the Auburn Mall. Hopefully somebody might come back and take that over, but a lot of people will drive from, Seneca Falls or Waterloo, maybe up to Auburn to watch the show. Why not go to the Omen Theater in Lyons? It's actually a little bit of a shorter drive, and this week they're showing the Hotel Transylvania on their refurbished big screen and beautiful facilities at the Omen, and that has a little bit of a Halloween theme to it there. Hotel Transylvania, starring Adam Sandler. Showtime's Friday, at 7:30, Saturday at 2, 4:30, and 7:30, and Sunday at 2, 4:30, and 7:30. That's rated PG. And you can visit them online at omentheater.com. That's OHMANNTHEATRE.com, omentheater.com in Lyons, New York. And that finally brings us to our good buddy Dick Marshall, Marshall's Auto Sales, and his technician Tommy Thompson, where I saw 3 or 4 SUVs up there on the lot as I drove by this morning. And the one thing I can say is, if you want to deal with a guy you can trust, a lot of times car dealers have a stigma about them. You don't know if you can trust what they're saying. You can trust what Dick Marshall's saying, and he'll do right by you, and so will his technician, Tommy Thompson. Also, huge NASCAR fans, Paul, and I guess this is a great time to give us a little Chase for the Cup update.
Yeah, a little bit of boring. It seems like it's not over, but it's formulating to the form where there's basically only 4 guys that have got a chance right now. Dick might disagree with me. Brad Keselowski has a 7-point lead over Jimmy Johnson, so it's probably going to be 1 or 2 of them. The guy in third, 15 down, who can win races, and that's what you have to do from here on out. If he could win 2 or 3 races, Denny Hamlin could make up the 15 points. And then back and forth, a guy who's peaking at the right time, and he's 28 down. He'd have to win 3 races probably to do, is Boyer. So those 3 guys, it was a race last week where strategy involved, and Keselowski didn't do the right thing with gas, and he ran out of gas, and he had to go in and get gas, and Boyer charged to the front and won. A little bit of the only thing exciting is there's no more Danica to pick on because she's kind of out of the mix right now. It just didn't work. It's not working. They're going to have to figure out what they're going to do with that. But the biggest excitement for me is listening to Jeff Gordon, who's got a family now, and he's older, and he's one of the he's one of the good guys from racing, and he's saying, if it was me, I'd just get in the car and drive, Dale, with a concussion. I mean, I know it's not to make light of concussions, and Griffin said, the quarterback from Washington who ran wild last week after the week before he was supposed to have a concussion, and that's borderline who's got one, who doesn't have one, what it is, how much jarring your head can stand in any sport. But when you see those cars upside down on the racetrack, and I mean, Junior's not Dale Senior. He never was. I'm sure Dale grimaced down and said, "Get in the car, son." Jeff's right, but they're teammates, and I never like to see that because they're Hendrick Motors, and I feel as if Hendrick Motors only got one guy there now that's got a chance to win. That's Jimmy Johnson. Kane's kind of out of it. Jeff's out of it, and so the way I see it, it's that way. Dickie might disagree with me. And this morning also, as I was driving up, there was 3 or 4 cars pulling in there for repair work. This is the time of year where people try to stretch $1, and sometimes for $40, $50, Dick can get your car back in the game for a long time by going in, make a simple adjustment or repair, so right. He would be good for that. And on the other side, Scott was hoping, now that Harold's been off, that he would make more appearances at Lizards because Harold doesn't know it, but when he goes in, it is entertainment for the other people. He said, Scott said he's one of the best stand-up comedians, not even knowing he's being funny. The people really get a kick out of seeing Harold there, so that's there. And the other part was the Ullmans, the ride is incredible this time of year in that area. So you can come from east, west, north, and south. You can come from Geneva. You can come from Auburn. You can come from anywhere. The ride over is going to be beautiful. And when you get to the Ullman Theater, oh, my, what a way to finish the day off. And then afterwards, you just take a nice, gentle ride home and say, boy, that was a great day, that foliage. And so that's really works out really good for everybody, and we're happy that all these sponsors were patient with us because we tend to be gabby, particularly Harold and I. Jim just does what he has to do because he's in the business, but that's the way it is. So, Harold, anything to say about that? Oh, I did good. Wow. Harold says I did good. All right. Nice to see you again, Harold. You've never looked better. Try to do a little something with your hair next week. But I think Harold's going to be back next week.
Yes, there'll be 2 more episodes of the Dog and Pauly show before it finishes the run. It'll be the 24th and the 31st of October. So I'm kind of sad to see it go because I think it's a great outlet for us to talk about the local teams, high school sports like we did today with football. Yeah. But who knows? Maybe something will be back similar.
Seneca Lake, yeah. Seneca Falls Country Club. I also want to mention to one of our good sponsors there. And Bob, how about the shorts? What do you think? Got his chance in the PGA? All I've been seeing on my computer this week is, I think it was Steneker. I think he was somewhere playing. I think they showed him hitting off a water hazard or something or close to a bank, and he had shorts on, and they said they look good.
Well, if you watch like the U.S. Amateur tournament, which is nationally televised, those guys will wear shorts. I mean, really, it's just the LPGA wear shorts. Just the PGA doesn't wear shorts, and it's kind of ridiculous when you see these guys sometimes playing in Louisiana, and it's 95 degrees and humid, and their pants are just soaking wet. Golf wants to be considered a sport. That's always an argument in itself. Is golf a sport or not, an athletic sport? Yeah. Let the guys wear shorts because most other sports you get to wear shorts. I think it should be a personal preference. I think even if they allowed it, that most guys still wouldn't, just because they're used to having that uniform of the slacks and the belt and the shirt, but
sure. And I think also this is the 3rd week of October, and you can go down playing shorts at the Seneca Falls Country Club. It's
this afternoon's going to be beautiful.
66, 67 degrees. Go down there and play. But he did say that he wishes that Harold wouldn't come down and play in shorts. It's kind of a traumatic experience for the younger people that have to come out and see him in shorts. But, that seems like it's a good thing. And the only other thing I knew about golf was they're very interested in raising the ratings of golf, and they think that if Phil Mickelson went into commentary and on the shows, they're really interested in going forward to him because I think he's picked up over the last few years. A lot of guys start struggling when they get a little older and they have other commitments. I think he's picked up the nice guy tag in golf.
He's too nice for commentating, though. We need a guy who's going to criticize a little bit, I think.
He'd find something good to say about everybody, Hard to believe that, huh, Harold? Over the years, if you could have stuck to that motto, wouldn't have been a lot. Well, anyway, we love you, Harold. But, I like Phil Mickelson. I mean, I root for him. He just seems to be always got that smile. He'll hit one good shot in a round of 74, and he'll smile all the way up the fairway to the people and wave to them because, hey, I hit that good, huh? That's the way it goes, yeah.
Well, before we put a wrap on this thing, baseball, I mean, it's been a devastating week for the Yankees after coming off a high of beating Baltimore in Game 5 and Raul Ibanez just being so magical. And he did it again early in the Detroit series, but unfortunately, that home run allowed Jeter to break his ankle, and nobody can hit in the middle of that lineup, whether it's A-Rod, Chavez, Cano, Swisher, I mean, even Teixeira. I mean, they're down 3-0. It could be over tonight when they play Detroit in Detroit.
Well, this will show what the meaning of professional is. A couple of players, after getting booed at Yankee Stadium in the second game late, when they had no chance of coming back from a 3-0 deficit, a couple of players said they didn't appreciate. Wow. Yeah. Careful where you go with that. When you're making anywhere between $5 and $8 million a year, and you're on a stage, and people have come there, and they brought 2 kids. That's a $500 bill with food and tickets. And you say you don't appreciate being booed. You better know who brought you to the dance. I mean, when the middle of your lineup, 3, 4, and 5, is batting 111, I mean, they're like 11 for 100 and something. Everybody, it's just not one thing.
And watching these games, especially these Tiger games, you turn it on and it's like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. I mean, inning after inning of not scoring. I mean, and then when you do get somebody in scoring position, guy like A-Rod comes up and strikes out, or Cano or Swisher comes up and makes an out. It's frustrating, and watching a lot of baseball, watch every game of that Baltimore series, watch every game of this Detroit series, and it's just really boring to watch, to be honest with you.
Well, sometimes you have to leave with what brought you there. The Yankees are a big run-the-counts-up team, make the pitcher throw a lot of pitches, and I don't believe in that because there's relievers out there that are just as good as the starting pitchers. But now the last 2 or 3 games, they're pouring that 91-mile-an-hour fastball down there on the first pitch, belt high, because they know you're going to take it, and you take it. When you're this far out of whack, you ought to start going for it. I mean, you got to change your philosophy if it's not working. Besides not being popular with the fans right now, I would say the Yankees are not popular with their pitching staff.
No, I would say not either.
1.5 ERA for the Baltimore and Detroit series.
Yeah.
1.5 should win 6 out of 7 games, and they're 0 in the world. But that's that, and it's always good for baseball when a team like the Yankees get in trouble, because going forward, they are carrying Alex Rodriguez's $30 million contract next year. Where are you going to go with that?
4 more years, I think, 4 or 5.
Yeah, but I mean, going into next year and seeing him play this year.
You can't trade him.
Ooh, who wants him?
He's got a no-trade clause, number 1. Number 2, who wants to take on that contract?
What is that, the whole Oakland payroll? Or half of it, or whatever, I mean, it doesn't really make a difference, And then the wrong guy has to get hurt. I mean, the only guy who was batting .333, getting a hit in every playoff game, maybe 2 in some of them, Derek, he goes out. Yeah. But they just don't have that rah-rah guy. They don't have that guy that goes around the dugout hitting everybody on slapping them on the back of the head, or something like that, and tell them, let's go. They just seem to be, doing what they do. But it's good for baseball because you're either a Yankee lover or you're a Yankee distractor, and it's exciting when somebody beats them. If Detroit wins the playoff and St. Louis wins the playoff, they are the 9th and 10th best record teams in baseball going to the Fall Classic. And is that why we do this? Is that why are the seasons too long? Are the people peaking and then going down?
Well,
the best teams
going back to the college football argument, I mean, there's no saying that the best team from the regular season gets to automatically win the playoffs. That's why you have a postseason. But in college football, there is no postseason. There's like a one-game thing.
Right.
So, and it's a season as long as baseball, 162 games, and then the playoffs, just things can change so drastically from April and May till October. So, and, especially some of these teams like Baltimore and Texas playing a one-game playoff game, 162 games, and then show up tonight and one team's going home. But that's, one of the beauty of baseball. I'd be honest with you, I can't sit and watch full baseball games in the regular season. I'll flip around or have it on the background, turn it for the last few innings. But postseason baseball, I can watch it all just because every game means so much. So, good luck Yankees tonight. Otherwise, that's the end of the story. It's not impossible to come back and win 4 straight, but I think it is for this team without their captain and without anybody being able to hit the ball. So, I mean, I think you put a fork in the Yanks tonight, and that's it. And then Detroit gets to rest up and take on the winner of St. Louis and San Francisco.
Yeah, and this won't be good for baseball moving forward. If Detroit wraps it up tonight and the other series is 1-1, and that might go 7, they'll be playing forever until it resumes. And it might be one of those who cares type World Series. In other words, a week goes by, you get to watch more football, it gets more exciting, and you say, who's in this year? Not who won or who lost the World
what is
Series.
it, game 1 or game 2 of this? Wake me when it's game 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah, what are we in, November?
Yeah, that's right.
And some of the cities that you're playing baseball in right now are cold weather cities. So, I mean, it's not like they're dome, and but anyway, that's it for baseball, and that's probably close to it for us.
Yeah, that is, Paul. And we had a lot of live viewers today, hovering between 30 and 40 for most of the hour. Sorry we were on a little bit late this morning. It was my fault. I was a little bit late getting going. But I enjoyed the show tonight, Paul. We'll be back next week with Harold, and then another week on Halloween will be the final edition of the Dog and Pauly Show. But certainly, thanks so much for spending the hour with us and talking a little sports. And Paul, enjoy your rest of your week, and we'll see you next week, everybody.
Thank you. Great fall weekend for sports.